What's up guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you're doing good. Welcome to the world of Enshrouded. This game is absolutely awesome. And in case you haven't heard of it, this is the game that Valheim content creators all over the internet are calling the next Valheim. So, as someone that predominantly creates Valheim content, I had to dive into the demo for myself to see what all the fuss is about. And I have to say, I absolutely love what I discovered. And if you're a fan of Valheim, I think you will as well. So get ready, strap in, and join me as we dive in to the Shroud. Enshrouded is an open world survival game with online co-op, much like Valheim, that is slated for release later this year. However, during the Steam Next Fest, the developers released a demo that is available for free to the public until October 22nd. Once you've created a character by selecting a preset and then customizing your hair and beard style and color, you can then create a world and dive in to the world of Enshrouded. The demo starts with our character awaking from an eerily ambiguous slumber and crawling out of some goofy looking oversized vase. Then we're introduced to the reoccurring theme of an enlightening flame, where the lore of the game is communicated to us via some ethereal voice. Then, after some light spelunking and a little bit of a tutorial, the game has us claim our very first area for building our base. And from this point on, we're let loose to explore everything the demo has to offer. And there is quite a lot of content considering this is just a free demo. But what do you actually do in Enshrouded? And what makes this game so special? Isn't it just another generic survival game? Well, you'd be forgiven for thinking that at first glance, but actually, there's a bunch more to this game than you might expect. Starting with the quest system. Unlike any other survival game I've ever played before, Enshrouded actually has a quest line. These can be accessed via the journal and can be anything from choosing a place to build your base to exploring a dungeon and fighting a boss. And as you progress and upgrade your base, more quests will be unlocked, which will also eventually lure you further and further away from the start of the game. Having quests in a survival game feels awesome because it always gives you a purpose and something to do when you're not content just building your base or exploring. But it's more than just the quest line that makes Enshrouded unique compared to other survival games. One of the highlights are the Zelda-like dungeons, where you have to scale to the top of a giant tower, solving various puzzles and platforming along the way, whilst attaining a ton of loot. Combat is also far more notable compared to other survival games. It actually feels a lot like playing a Dark Souls game. There's a lock-on system, there's a parry system, you can block, you can dodge roll, but it all feels so much more immediate and so much more natural and responsive than a game like Valheim. The combination of an improved combat system and these sort of Zelda-like dungeons and a quest line make Enshrouded feel at times like you're just playing a single-player story game, to the point where you can actually forget that you're playing some survival crafting game where you can just go and build some giant castle or go mining underground or cut down every tree. There's also a pretty unique mechanic in the game regarding the Shroud. The Shroud refers to part of the map covered in this purple mist, where everything is overgrown with mold and mushrooms, with undead-like enemies on the prowl. When you're in the Shroud, you can only survive for a certain amount of time, and once you run out of time, your character actually dies. The amount of time you can survive before dying in the Shroud can be increased with various buffs and potions, but this combined with the fact that all of the game's hardest enemies exist in the Shroud add a layer of pressure and atmosphere and immediacy to the whole experience that is ultimately very unique and very rewarding once you finally pull off a quest that's led you there and made it back to your base in safety. One of the other ways that Enshrouded can feel like a single-player story game is that the map is actually not randomly generated, it's handcrafted. This means that everything is laid out in a very deliberate way, and it also means that places can have a more unique sense of character instead of just being algorithmic or the same prefab you've seen a million times. Obviously, the demo is just a slice of the game, so I can't speak to the scale of this, but I do feel like it's worth noting because it is another way that this game is doing something different. Another way the game does something different is that there is actually an RPG style skill tree and leveling system where when you're leveling up, You can spec out your character with unique abilities and increase various attributes according to your playstyle. There's a unique food system that's largely buff based. For example, drinking water will increase the length of your stamina bar, while drinking berries will give you a temporary health buff. There's a grappling hook that feels almost like it's taken directly out of a Zelda game, where certain parts of the map are inaccessible until you obtain it. And there's also a glider that is absolutely epic, where you can jump from the highest peaks and sail down in some kind of medieval wingsuit, which makes traversal super fast and super fun. There's a lockpick system where certain doors and chests will be locked and will require a lockpick, which can be crafted at your base. And cooking and eating meat will dramatically increase the length of your health bar. So that covers most of the more unique stuff that I encountered in the demo. But Enshrouded also does a bunch of stuff that a ton of other survival games do, but it just does it better. For example, when you go up to a workbench and interact with it, it instantly repairs all of your gear instead of having to click a dedicated repair button. Building in general is way less grindy, as building large structures requires way less mats, allowing you to have fun and go crazy with the build system sooner rather than later. The game has an awesome random loot system where there's chests scattered around the world that contain random lootable weapons, and these weapons are rated like in an RPG from common to legendary, which greatly incentivizes you to go out into the world and explore, as this is how you're going to get some of the best weapons. There's a fast travel system where you can fast travel back to your base. Combat and traversal is far superior to other survival games. The building system works in a very similar way to Valheim, where you can select from a bunch of different wall and floor pieces. However, it's actually improved because there is also a way to build block by block on top of this, which I can only imagine the level of detail this allows you to go into. You can also build underground because the terraforming system allows you to dig tunnels. Weapon upgrades are way more meaningful depending on what tier loot your weapon is. It will have a certain number of upgrade slots where you can spend runes to upgrade them, and each different weapon type gains a different set of buffs as it is upgraded. Looted weapons that you don't need anymore can actually be salvaged and turned into runes, which you can then use to upgrade your other weapons. There's automated smelting, where all you have to do is leave the mats in the smelter, and as the process they'll just stack up inside the inventory and you can go and collect them whenever it's convenient. When crafting anything in the base, you're actually able to craft from storage instead of having to go and collect the items needed to craft from a chest. There's dedicated armor slots and shield slots and bow slots and ring slots, so these items don't have to take up meaningless space in your inventory. You can delete unwanted items from the inventory instantaneously, and when you're building and you make a mistake, it's super easy to undo what you just did with a simple button press. Not to mention the fact that if you die whilst clearing a dungeon or fighting a boss, there are actually checkpoints. And although your character will drop part of your inventory, you will keep all of your weapons and armor and any food or healing items that you had on your hotbar. Now you might be wondering, if this game is so different, then what's with all of the comparisons to Valheim? Well, first of all, obviously it's in the same genre, it's the same type of game, but I will say that when you're playing the game, the closest thing to the vibe that I get when playing is Valheim. I don't know whether it's the fact that finding berries is like finding precious gold, the fact that you have to sit down next to a fire or sleep in the bed to get a rested buff, cooking meat over a fire, or even if it's just the fantasy setting, but Enshrouded does feel like a distant cousin of Valheim. Not to mention the fact that there's several gameplay mechanics around the crafting and build system that both games share, but Enshrouded actually does better. So even though it's not Viking themed, in many ways, Enshrouded does sort of feel like the next evolution in survival games since Valheim. So who is this game for? And is it worth checking out this demo? Well, first of all, let's start with the demo. Yes, it's completely free. If you're a fan of survival games of any kind, even if you've never played Valheim, I don't know what you're waiting for. There is absolutely no reason not to go and check out this demo. And as for who this game's for, whether you're somebody that played a ton of Valheim but then just got bored and maybe got sick of waiting for the developers to add new content, or if you're somebody that still plays a ton of Valheim, I think this game is for you. There is no question to me that if you enjoyed Valheim, then you will definitely love Enshrouded. However, even if you're somebody that Valheim didn't appeal to, like for example, lots of people didn't like their combat system in Valheim, well, Enshrouded could be perfect for you because the combat system is awesome. If you're a fan of the Zelda games and you're actually curious as to what some kind of open world survival Zelda game would be like, then maybe Enshrouded is for you. If you're a fan of Souls-like games and you also like survival games, then Enshrouded could be the perfect game for you. All in all, I think this game could actually have a huge audience. One thing I will say about the demo though is that while the content is awesome, it is a little unoptimized, so depending on your computer hardware, you may have some problems running the game and the performance may not be very good. I will say that I do recommend sticking with the recommended settings for the game. Just keep everything on medium or thereabouts, or even lower if you're really struggling. The developers have actually spoken about this. I don't think they're anywhere near starting an optimization yet. They just wanted to get an impression of the gameplay and their content, which is absolutely excellent, but just wanted to add that disclaimer. And one of the last things I wanted to talk about in this video is the potential for this game, because I know I'm hyping this game up and all of this is genuine. I absolutely loved this demo and I'm so excited for this game. It is kind of instantly shooted up to be my most anticipated game, but I will say that it's all dependent on if they can live up to the potential of this demo, because this is just a slice of the game and it's an excellent slice of the game, and I personally feel that there is so much potential displayed in this demo that if the game can live up to this level of quality and we just get a huge map with a ton of variety, that this could be one of the best survival games of all time. And the only thing that's going to stop it from being that is if somehow the quality drops or the game just gets super boring and repetitive once we're able to explore outside the confines of the demo. But I have super high hopes for this game and I think it has a ton of potential, and I'm super excited to check it out once it goes into early access, and I hope you guys are as well. Alright guys, that's just about going to do it for this one. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave a like and a nice positive comment for the YouTube algorithm, and subscribe for future content. I do actually stream live on this very YouTube channel and also live on Twitch at twitch.tv/NickRawcliffe, so leave a link in the description to that if you're interested in that. If you want to support the content financially and help keep my dream alive of being able to continue to make content for you guys, then the best way you can do that is on Patreon at patreon.com/NickRawcliffe. You can follow me on social media and join my Discord at the links below. And until next time, have a good one.